Night sweats.
Irritable, depressed, reclusive.
Panic attacks that would last upwards of 5 or 6 days.
Very hypervigilant, noises, light, sounds.
Significant depression.
I was ready to commit suicide.
And I don't have any nightmares, which is nice, which means I can sleep.
I actually believe he saved my life.
Training that it's a very low-risk procedure.
I'm a recipient of the procedure, and I am so grateful that I had it done. Because if I hadn't had it done, I was at the end of my rope. I was ready to commit suicide. The procedure is so simple, and the results is so great. 45 minutes after I'd had the procedure, my wife and my best friend was with me, and they could see the tension release in my face. We was in a restaurant, just simple things. Busboy dropped a tray of dishes. Normally I would have been in the floor or out the door. My wife looked at me and she says, "You didn't even flinch." And I go, "For what?" And I've got to where, believe it or not, a veteran that can walk in and put their back towards the door.
Oh, no.
Dr. Lipov, you're also treating PTSD. Thank you.
Basically, my approach is I'm a pain physician. Through an interesting event, I have figured out it seems to work for PTS. And let me just give you one example of a soldier I treated, and you'll get a feel for it. The first soldier I treated was a special service gentleman. He was a sergeant in Iraq. He was in a helicopter, crashed twice. He was brought down twice by unfriendly fire. He was knocked out over 30 minutes both times. Then he was patrolling the street in Iraq, and a child laden with explosives was coming at him, and he shot the child with anticipated consequences.
At the time, I was having some very bad nightmares at night, and I would wake up and I'd be hurting my wife. I had picked her up and thrown her out of the bed. I was putting my forearm into her throat. I was the one who was more bothered by what was happening, because I knew that it could get worse. Haven't had nearly as many troubles, like riding in a car, not seeing things out of the corner of my eyes. It's allowed me to get back to doing a lot of the things that I couldn't do when I first came back from Iraq. Just a lot of the simple things.
Thank you, Captain Hickey. Now I give you Dr. Lipov from Chicago. Please come forward and tell us about stellate ganglion block.
Thank you. For better or for worse, I was the one who started to do stellate ganglion blocks for PTSD. Not familiar with SGB. It's essentially an injection in the neck. There is
When somebody has PTSD, the nerve fibers grow, sympathetic nerve fibers. When you're running away from the tiger, those nerve fibers are not happy. They grow and they produce norepinephrine, which is, if you're about to jump in front of the bus, you got so much norepinephrine being produced, you're revved up. But if you stay like that, that's what PTSD is like, is to be revved up. So when we do the block, all those nerves that has grown, which really shouldn't be there, it seems to turn them off. And norepinephrine goes away and they get calm. And we were able to actually measure norepinephrine in the urine in a couple of patients, showing that. We presented the paper in New York regarding 10 patients who were done under local anesthetic, that it worked in 30 minutes. The injection took away anxiety in 30 minutes.
Profound was in 2007, stepped on an IED in Iraq.
May 18th of last year, I was sexually assaulted by another active duty military member.
I had a IED go off under my helicopter when I was a little less than 100 feet off the ground. I mean, every day flying helicopters over Baghdad was getting shot at.
First firefight I got into, my gunner, he got shot in the chest, and you know, just being the squad leader and seeing your guy drop down inside the gun, like it's a complete feeling of helplessness.
Tell me about your limitations from your PTSD symptoms.
For example, I hated being in crowds of people, just being around people in general. And eventually it got to the point where I would make excuses why I didn't even want to go to the grocery store, or you know, just be at but out of nowhere I would go from like a 3 to a 10 and just explode and start shouting and, you know, throwing stuff and, you know, really upset.
What treatments did you try before we did the stellate ganglion block?
So many things. Initially, when I was in the hospital, I did a PTSD support group, medications, Zoloft, Wellbutrin. I never really followed through with a lot of the treatments. Mostly, it was, you know, because I was continuing to deploy, or I just felt like I wasn't getting anything out of it, so I would just numb it out.
I had every symptom possible as far as having PTSD, in the sense that I had a very difficult time sleeping. I had very bad nightmares.
So describe your experiences actually having the stellate ganglion block.
It wasn't painful. It wasn't scary or anything like that, like I thought it would be. It was very easy. The one thing, I asked you the question how I would feel, or when would I start to feel the difference, and you said, well, I'll let you tell me that after I thought, okay, he's just saying, you know, but within 30 minutes of having the block, I completely felt like myself, more like myself than I had in a long time.
It really bothered me. I mean, I've been poked and prodded by doctors and surgeons so much that it wasn't that big of a deal.
How did you feel immediately after the block and in the following weeks?
The immediate feeling was, I didn't expect it at all. I felt like really happy.
I felt very euphoric, very, very relaxed, and I literally felt like $1 million.
I did have.
You know, I came in here for the procedure, and you know, when it was done, I went home, and you know, my wife noticed an immediate difference.
How were things before the block?
Hard. Very hard.
It's a orange.
It was, you never really knew when there was going to be like an explosive anger fight. And I never knew how far it would go. Breaking things, sorry baby. Some physical aspects of it. I didn't think prior to this that our marriage was going to work out.
Almost 2.5 months since Luke had the stellate ganglion block. And what changes have you noticed, Stacy?
The last 3 months have been probably the best 3 months of our marriage now. Luke wakes up happy. He's able to joke around now. There is so much less anger in our home. There's no more like rage fights that are happening, and we kind of call it quits. Everyone, like the greatest part is, it's gonna make me cry. I got to fall back in love with my husband for a second time. Like I feel so blessed because it got to happen not only once,